Hi everyone, it's Dave here and welcome back to the complete guide to every F1 game on PlayStation ever. And it gives me great pleasure to present to you today Formula 1 97. Okay, straight into the questions then. The first one of course is, has it got a Mario Kart mode? Well, of course we're talking about the arcade mode, and the answer to that question is yes, it has. 3, 2, 1 and it's go, 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 as Murray would say. I'm driving in a Stewart, yes, a Stewart, and as you can see we've got the full arcade experience. You've got a countdown timer, and as you go around the corners, and just look at that, look, the physics are absolutely mad in the arcade mode. Yes, the car actually steers from the front and not the rear. This game was a development from last year's Formula 1 and featured the higher resolution graphics mode that the PlayStation 1 could produce. Also released this year was Codemasters TOCA Touring Car Champion. Unfortunately though, this game used the low resolution graphics mode and the results do look very blocky, as you can see on screen right now. The first two Tomb Raider games were also produced in the low resolution graphics mode until Tomb Raider 3, and thankfully though, by the time TOCA 2 came along, they had switched over to the higher resolution graphics mode of the PlayStation 1. Okay, let's move on to the Grand Prix mode. Yes, no career mode in this game. So let's have a look at some of the options we have now. We have the controller setup. Yes, for the first time we now have analog steering for the car. You just had to push the little pointer to the left and to the right to calibrate that steering. What a lot of people didn't realise is that you had to do that every single time you loaded the game. Otherwise it didn't save any of the settings. You've also got a CD player which played some of the music tracks from the game. Just a little side note about the controller settings. Unfortunately there was no analog accelerate or brake. You had to use the X button. You've also just seen the screen setup there, which was quite essential in the day because it used to chuck the screen off to the left hand side. And of course your memory card options for loading and saving the game. So onwards we go now to the tracks that you can play in Formula 1 97, and we start with the Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park. And as you can see, there's an absolute plethora of information from the 1997 season on screen. As we move on to round 2, of course, which is the Brazilian Grand Prix, then on to round 3, which is the Argentinian Grand Prix at the Autodromo Oscar Alfredo Galvez at Buenos Aires, which was won by Jacques Villeneuve in 1997. As you can see, his name has been blanked out because he didn't allow it to be used in the game. He was already licensed to someone else. Then on to San Marino, and then on to Monaco at Monte Carlo, which was won in 97 by Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. So on to the next Grand Prix you can play in Formula 1 97. We had the Spanish Grand Prix at Catalonia, and then the Canadian Grand Prix at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which was won in 96 by Damon Hill in the Williams. And of course Jacques Villeneuve in second place, but he yet again has been blanked out. So on to the next round, and now we've got the French Grand Prix at Magny-Cours, which again was won by Jacques Villeneuve. Then on to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Then the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim, which was won by Hill again in 1996. Then the Hungarian Grand Prix at Budapest. And then of course on to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit before we go to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix and the Austrian Grand Prix at the A1 Ring, which was returning I think after a very long break. Then we had the Luxembourg Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, which again in 96 was won by Damon Hill. Then on to the Japanese Grand Prix, and then the Portuguese Grand Prix from Estoril. And then we had the European Grand Prix from Jerez, which was included in the game, even though in the season the race did not actually take place. There are some other tracks available as well in the game. There is a 60s mode, which is Silverstone. We have a bonus track. As you can see, we have Adelaide, which is just in reverse. That's only the letters, not the track. And we've got Aida, which of course again is just being said in reverse. So let's have a look at the 60s track from Silverstone, complete in black and white with old 60s cars. As you can see, it's all very impressive stuff. There's even graining on the picture as well to make it look really authentic. And of course this is the original Silverstone circuit, or one of the original Silverstone circuits. As you can see, there is quite a visible sort of bubble around your car, so I think the car models, as you go into cockpit view, as you can see, it's gone back to a standard Formula 1 car there. But you know, it's just a little extra that you get after winning the game, so it's quite impressive. There's also a training mode as well, which is basically a tour of the circuits.
Coming up to the first right past the Brabham stand, up to the left-hander, into the straight, preparing for the chicane now. Approaching the right past the Whitford stand.
Okay, let's just have a look at some of the options you can get while you're in the pause menu. You can view your telemetry while in the training mode. As you can see, you can view your RPMs, your gears for all you budding mechanics out there. And let's have a look at some of the other options. We've got screen options that you can use. You've got the camera, which can be locked or unlocked, and you've got screen tilt, which can be on or off. This is only used, of course, in the cockpit view, but I shall show you exactly what it does a little bit later on in the video. So let's have a look now and see some of the other options you've got. You can have your speed in miles per hour or kph. You can have the racing line on, off, or in training. The training only works actually in the training mode, so you can't have it in the Grand Prix. You can have the display as dim, off or on, or bright or whatever. Draw distance is dynamic or locked. This actually locks the frame rate, but actually makes the game a little bit more jerky. So let's have a look at cockpit view then. I'm just going to show you what the camera does. As you can see, it starts to tilt from left to right. Unfortunately, I couldn't ever use this view because I do suffer occasionally from vertigo, and it used to make me feel quite queasy. But to all you budding Max Verstappen's out there, I don't think you're going to have a problem. So there's the camera options for Formula 1 97. Let's move on to some more questions now, and this of course is always asked: can you drive as yourself? Well, yes, you can. You can also edit every single name of the drivers in the grid if you so desire. You can see we've got John Alesi at Benetton with Gerhard Berger. Now, it has to be pointed out that you have to manually go up and down for all these letters, and it takes a very, very long time. But you can, in theory, have the whole F1 2016 season if you so desired. This is also where you can input the cheats for the game, and if you look on the internet, you'll find out what all those cheats are. There's quite a few. So we move on now to Sauber, and we got Johnny Herbert in the first car and Nicola Larini in the second one. So on to Ferrari now is the next team you can drive for, and you've got Michael Schumacher and Eddie Irvine. On to Prost now, you've got Olivier Panis and Shinji Nakano. On to Minardi, it's Jarno Trulli and Yukio Katayama. Next team you can drive for is Jordan, and you've got Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella. Next team is Stewart with Rubens Barrichello and Jan Magnussen. And then you can drive for Arrows and drive as Damon Hill or Pedro Diniz. Our next team, of course, is McLaren with Mika Hakkinen or David Coulthard. And the next team, of course, is Williams, and you can drive as Driver 1, which of course is Jacques Villeneuve, and Heinz Harald Frentzen. And then you've got Tyrrell, Jos Verstappen and Mika Salo. Well, that's the teams in Formula 1 97. Let's go now to the options in the garage. You've got the race length. You can be short, medium, long. You can have it at half race distance or full race distance. Now we move on to the skill settings. You can have it on novice, amateur, rookie, professional or expert. Now we move on to the steer assist. Of course, you can have that on or you can have it off, and also with the brake assist on or off. you can have your sessions as practice, qualify, or if you don't want to do any of those, you can go straight in to the race and start from the back of the grid. Next, you can have damage on or off. Our next option that you can have is the failures of the car. You can have those also on or off. Now for the weather, you can have sunny, rainy, variable, or random. And for the first time in this game, the actual weather does change during the race. You can have tyre wear on and off. You can have fuel depletion on or off. The tear-offs, which are the little tear-offs that you get in cockpit view, you can have on or off as well. I will show you those later. And the flags, of course, for the game, you can also have on or off. So let's go once again into Monte Carlo, and I have chosen Olivier Panis. Let's just have a look at the car options. You can have gears as automatic or manual. You have the tyres as slicks, wet or monsoon. You can have the compound of the tyres as hard or soft. You can have the suspension from 0 all the way up to 100%, which is basically rock hard. And the brake discs, you can have from their default of 28mm, you can put them down to 24, which gives you more stronger braking but can make the brakes fail more easily. So our next thing you can change is the brake bias. You can have it more to the front or more to the rear, which of course controls your oversteer and understeer. And you can have the downforce from 0 all the way up to 100 from its default, which is at 50%. Okay, let's move on to the next option, and of course that'll be the rear downforce, which once again you can alter from 0 right up to 100%. And then of course you've got the fuel load, which you can have at 2 laps or all the way up to a full race distance. But of course don't forget, you will run out of tyre wear before you ever get to the end of a race. And of course the last options you have is the load and the save for loading or saving a car setup. Okay then, it's time to go once again at Monaco. I'm in Olivier Panis's Prost. As you can see, the 5 lights go out and it's away we go. Oh my goodness, this feels absolutely wonderful. Now, as you can also see, you have to be very, very careful at the start because the cars really do slow down terribly at the start of the race. And I've got the damage on, and that damage is pretty extreme. Just one touch of the front wing and your nose is off. Yes, it is. So we go up the glorious hill section of Monaco. And when I did a career mode in this series, I think about a year ago now, someone in the comments actually said, how on earth did the graphics manage to be this good on a PS1 game? Well, yes, it's a good question. There is a little bit of cheating going on, but then this was nothing new and was used by quite a few of the developers of these racing games, and that is that the actual scenery is being drawn as you go around the circuit. It's called pop-up, and yes. Now anyway, we go for the tunnel now. As you can see, we've got lights in the tunnel for this year. Fantastic. Looks a little bit like a Christmas sparkler going off because there's quite a lot of screen tear up as you go through the tunnel, but nevertheless it's just such a great game. As you can see, all the boats in the harbour, and oh, it's just glorious. And the thing about this game is you get a real sense of achievement as I'm trying to pass an arrow. Yeah, I just managed to squeeze past him. Now I just really felt good about passing that car because, you know, that's what the modern F1 games I think are missing. In this game you really feel that if you can just push a little bit harder, you can go on to get past the car in front of us. Okay then, this is a 5-lap race. I've just gone past the Tyrrell, I do believe, and there you go, there's the contact. And that goes on to our next question, of course, which is damage. Yes, unlike last year's game where it was a percentage bar going from 0 to 100%, this year's game you can actually see the damage visually, and you can see there's damage to the rear wing there on the car. Now you only get about 2 hits to the rear wing and that comes off, and about 1 hit to the front wing and that comes off as well. As we go into the casino section at Monte Carlo once more, I've got my teammate right in front of me which I'm trying to get past, and I do believe I may be able to get past. Anyway, on to the camera views now of this game. We start with the furthest out view. As you can see, as we go down the start and finish line, you've got the next view which is a little bit closer to the car. Then you've got the chase view, which is pretty classic from people who play the rally games. And as you can also see, that damage even more clearer now on the rear wing as I'm trying to get past an arrows. I think that may be Damon Hill. And now we go into an even closer view and you can really see the damage to that rear wing on that cross now as we're going into this casino section. And once more at Monaco, the next view we have on offer is the classic T-cam view, as you can see, and now you can also see the damage to the front wing as well. One more tiny little tap on that and that wing will be off as I'm still trying to get past Damon Hill. Okay, and then you've got the nose cam view, as you can see. I've just zoomed in there as we go past the start and finish line, and the final view we have, of course, is the cockpit view. And as you can also see, we've got the tear-offs that haven't been teared off. You have to press the triangle button and then the screen will clear and it will get rid of all that progressive dirt build-up which is built up on the car. Now the cockpit view mode, well, to be honest, it looks a little bit from a 1980s Mega Drive, but it was good that it was implemented anyway, because previous games have not really had any sort of cockpit view in them. So anyway, so we move on now from the cockpit view. As you can see, I've got a blinking light in my right hand corner which says low fuel, so it's time to make our pit stop in Formula 1 97. So let's see how this works. As you can see, the camera zooms over to the left hand side so you can see the cars going past, and we get a simple graphic display now of what's happening in the pits. You change your tyres, and the front and rear wing needs replacing because they are both damaged. When the bars are full up to blue, we can now resume into the race now, and we're bloody last almost. But it doesn't matter. Okay, so our next question is, can you play it on the PS3? Yes, just like the previous game from Bizarre Creations, Formula 1 97 is 100% compatible with the PlayStation 3. And of course the last question, as always, is it worth buying? Well, that's rather a stupid question, because yet again you can buy it for possibly about £2 and you are buying a piece of Formula 1 history. I absolutely love this game and I will never ever stop raving about it. Anyway, thanks for everyone for watching. There will of course be more later.